Russell Wilson, he's the guy. The Steelers guaranteed him the starting job. Makes no sense to me. I like Russell Wilson. I think Russell Wilson's going to be fine in Pittsburgh. I think that the 9-time Pro Bowler, cool, makes a lot of sense. He's been here for 7 days. He hasn't taken a single snap for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I just got a hard time sitting around saying you're going to give somebody a guaranteed job who you haven't even seen throw a football, not in a Steelers uniform. Meanwhile, Justin Jefferson, see what I mean? You can't go get Justin Jefferson. I can't do it. I can't do it for a full season. There's already too many Deontay's going around with the Deontay, the Justins. Too many Justins. I think you look at Justin Fields and you say he's 10 years younger. That's a whole career. You have a whole career ahead of you for Justin Fields. He's the guy that if you're looking for a running quarterback, you're looking for a guy who's going to make moves. Arthur Smith likes to be creative with those guys. Justin Fields is your guy. I will drop this. Justin Fields has the worst record of any NFC quarterback since his time in the league. That's as bad as it gets. But when it comes to overall worst records, I believe Russell Wilson's 4th, maybe 3rd worst record. So in that same time. So it's not a huge step forward. I just look at Justin Fields and say this. It's going to be so easy for Russell Wilson to look good during training camp. No questions asked. Once the preseason comes around, you're going to have tens of thousands of Steelers fans who are going to be sitting around going, Justin Fields looks unbelievable against second team and third team guys. And when he gets the opportunity to start in the preseason, because he will, he's going to look unbelievable then too, because he's going to have weapons for the first time in his career. He's going to have an offensive line for the first time in his career. He's going to have zero pressure for the first time in his career. He's going to have zero pressure. He's going to have a whole summer to learn from Russell Wilson. He's going to have a whole summer to work with Mike Tomlin and familiarize himself with Calvin Austin and George Pickens and maybe Brandon Ayuk. Who knows? I'm just saying. I think it's very tough to sit here and say you're going to give somebody who's 10 years older, who's 35, who may have another 5 years, if you're lucky, left in his career, compared to Justin Fields, who's 25 years old, and you could probably keep him for cheap. You could probably keep him for, I'm telling you, $5-6 million over 2 years, or for 2 years. Each $5 million each year, $10 million, $12 million over 2 years. Extend him. Don't pick up his 5th-year option. I think that it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Now, I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers, and maybe I'm crazy here. I could see the Pittsburgh Steelers trying to implement some packages for Justin Fields. And maybe I'm crazy here to say that because the rule of thumb is if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have 0 quarterbacks. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. But Justin Fields could run. He's got 1,000 yards 2 years ago, 650 last year, 12 touchdowns during that time. I mean, he nearly broke the single season rushing record for quarterbacks. He can move. I don't know. Am I crazy to say that the Steelers maybe are not as firm on Russell Wilson being the guy as all these reports say that he is?
I don't think you are, because the reports are going to a degree of talking about an extension already 6 days after he just signed his first contract with the team. That's where I think it's a bit exaggerated, but also yes, at the same time, I think there's a reason that Russell Wilson was first on the docket, then Justin Fields was second on the docket. I do think that this upcoming season, while I agree with you, watching preseason, I might get a little jumpy too, might say, man, Justin Fields is electric. But yeah, I think there's a reason that they brought him in and immediately said Russell Wilson is the starter. And that's because Justin Fields had the worst record over the past 3 seasons of anybody in the NFC. And that doesn't go away just because he switches over to a Steelers uniform. So I do think that they're looking at this the same way the Packers looked at Jordan Love. You need somebody to mentor this guy, to usher this guy along. And I think that's what this season is. It's not going to take as long as it did with Aaron Rodgers because Russell Wilson doesn't have the stranglehold on the organization that Aaron Rodgers had on the Green Bay Packers. But I do think for this season, it's probably what they're saying it is, and that's Russell Wilson's job, and Justin Fields can sit back and learn.
So I agree, but it seems that he does have the stranglehold on this organization. I mean, they're already talking about extensions. There's already the reports out there about, I mean, we just talked about Jerry Dulac and the bomb that he dropped in that same 24-hour span. He dropped the bomb that Justin Fields is the backup because, Russ is they're already thinking about long-term with Russ. They're already thinking about what comes next year with Russell Wilson. That's just, maybe he does have the stranglehold. Maybe he loves, I could tell you that sitting there in that press conference, Mike Tomlin was glowing. That dude had a smile. He looked like a proud dad. He was up there just whole time. Like it was such a birthday present for him. And I mean, you could tell he was excited. I want to see his react. They're not even going to host one. You're going to talk to Justin Fields for the first time during OTAs, and Mike Tomlin's going to be nowhere to be found. So you have no idea what his reaction is going to be. I think that Russ does have a little bit of a stranglehold on this franchise right now, which is crazy to me, because that just of all the things that you've done, of all the things that the Pittsburgh Steelers have done this offseason, it kind of feels like that's the one step where you're like, okay, look it, let's not ruin it. Let's not ruin a good thing. Let's not ruin the mojo. Let's take it one step at a time here. I think this season decides everything, but I don't know. I look at Justin Fields and just say there's an opportunity. There's got to be some opportunity to come in here and kind of ball out. And maybe it's not this year, but that's okay. If there's no competition this year, or at least not a real competition this year, and this is Russell Wilson, he's going to start, Justin Fields is going to be the number 2, totally fine. But if you do that for 2 years, you're crazy. Unless Russell Wilson wins a Super Bowl for you, unless this team is unstoppable and this is Peyton Manning going to the Broncos and that's what's happening here, this is a 1-year thing, and next year you reevaluate your situation. Maybe with the same 2 quarterbacks, but Justin Fields gets a real opportunity. And you just can't mess around with that, because it just doesn't make any sense. It just feels like you're holding yourself back. That's how I view it. When it comes to like packages, Justin Fields getting on the field, I think he's got to get on the field for some degree to do something. He just can't sit there and waste away. And I think you could use him for something crazy once in a while, once a game. Just toss him out there.
3rd and short read options with Jaylen Warren. Is that the plan?
You're telling me that wouldn't work out? Like, you're telling me Justin Fields and Jaylen Warren standing back there and you're running read options on, a little RPO style with George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth right over the middle. I think it could work. I think if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks, and I agree with that one. But I think you're going to look at Justin Fields and you're going to say, man, this guy is electric, and he's got some pieces around him that he's never had around him. And you gotta put some faith in that. You gotta put some faith in that, because you didn't draft. I get that they got him for a 6th round pick. I understand that, but they were interested in him well before that. They had traction with Justin Fields all offseason. These were not just like all the rumors were true, because it all came out that they were true after the trade went down. If you were thinking about it the whole time and the compensation just fell into your lap and it worked out the best way, like, I don't view Russ as your first option. I just view Russ as your cheapest option, as this guy made so much sense. So I think you got to go. I think you can't just say, hey, Justin's a 1-year deal. That's it. We're moving on. He's our backup in 2024. And then that's the end of our time with Justin Fields. That doesn't make any sense. I don't care what you got him for. Doesn't make any sense. You got to have a long-term plan for this guy. You got to give him some opportunity. You gave Mason Rudolph an opportunity. You extended Mason Rudolph at the end of Ben's career to say, hey, come back and you will have a chance. He didn't really have a chance, but they said he was going to. If you're going to do that, you got to make it real for Justin Fields, and you got to give him a real opportunity. I just think that's how that makes sense. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. So we'll see. I think a year behind Russell Wilson helps 100%. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. I'd be all about Russell Wilson starting. I am all about Russell Wilson starting. I think he's got a ton of potential. I think this team has a ton of potential with either one of them at quarterback. But to say that this is a 1-year plan where Justin Fields is going to sit on the bench, crazy. This is either a multi-year plan or Justin Fields gets a real opportunity this season. I don't know what one it is, but one of them's got to be the case, because I'm not willing to accept that this is Russell Wilson's team for the next 5 years and then you move on. Nope, not happening.